The doctor strode into the prison, slipped the guard a wad of cash, and requested a meeting with the depraved killer. He then placed 2 sheets of paper on the table and proposed a deal. He would forge a medical report to let the killer out to commit the crimes he desired, in exchange for the killer's brain after his death. The killer, initially unsuspecting, signed the brain donation agreement, but the doctor tore up his own copy, as if he'd never made any promises. With disdain, he looked at the killer. A man of his esteemed status would never stoop to collaborate with a lowly criminal. Enraged, the killer lunged, revealing he'd already prepared a pin to pick his handcuffs at any moment. He attacked the doctor, screaming that he'd send him to hell. But Haru wasn't one to be easily trifled with. He swiftly pinned the killer to the floor. The guard, hearing the commotion, rushed in with Haru's assistant. The killer swiftly swallowed the brain donation pledge, destroying the evidence. Smirking, he told Haru, "You won't get what you want." Yet, 2 days later, the killer's brain was in Haru's hands. To obtain it, Haru forged the donation pledge without hesitation. His assistant, worried about the consequences of taking a dead man's brain, warned that Haru's reputation could be ruined if exposed. Stubbornly, Haru ordered the assistant to post a sign on the door to ensure no interruptions during the surgery. Haru met Myung-se, a detective, seeking help with his case. Myung-se obediently followed Haru's instructions, lying still until Haru returned. Mistakenly, the assistant thought Myung-se was the killer's corpse and even snipped off a lock of his hair. Thanks to Myung-se's presence, Haru successfully locked the operating room and extracted the killer's brain. When the hospital director arrived, it was already too late. Deeply disappointed by Haru's reckless actions, the director, who greatly admired Haru's talent, condemned his illegal use of another's brain. The next day, Haru faced the Research Institute's board. He delivered a speech highlighting his many achievements and reminded them that the expensive equipment they all enjoyed was secured through his efforts. Expecting leniency for his contributions, Haru was stunned when the board, prioritizing collective integrity over individual merit, decided to strip him of his position. Speechless, he returned to his office, sighing in despair. Was he now doomed to unemployment? Just then, Myung-se called, gleefully mocking Haru as news outlets branded him an unscrupulous scientist. Still bitter about his clipped hair, Myung-se relentlessly taunted Haru about his downfall, driving Haru into a fury. The next morning at the police station, Haru appeared with a cheerful demeanor, surprising Myung-se. Initially suspicious of Haru's intentions, Myung-se was taken aback when Haru extended a hand, proposing they work together to solve cases. Haru wanted to join the investigation as a forensic expert, confident that cracking the case would make the hospital regret firing him. He was determined to reclaim his former glory. Turning to Myung-se's case, a famous singer had collapsed and died during a performance. The singer's wife claimed her husband, who suffered from Parkinson's, had instructed her to use software to maximize the electric current in his wristband at the peak of his performance. The current, meant to stimulate his brain, was supposed to keep him in his brightest moment. Her statement aligned perfectly with the autopsy results. The police's challenge was determining whether the singer truly wanted his wife to do this, or if she was hired to murder him. From outside the interrogation room, Haru observed the wife's demeanor. Despite the police's gentle approach, she was visibly terrified, her face trembling with fear. Haru entered, greeting her warmly and asking if she remembered him, claiming they'd met at a concert. After a moment, the wife smiled and reciprocated, as if recalling the encounter. Haru chatted so naturally that her initial fear and anxiety melted away. After she left, Haru told the police team she was lying. The concert story was fabricated. This was their first meeting. Why then did she act as if she knew him? The police were skeptical of Haru's theory, but followed up by consulting the wife's doctor. The doctor confirmed the wife had a memory disorder, likely due to brain atrophy, which could distort her recollections. Her alcoholism further worsened the condition. Back at the station, the team devised their next steps. They now knew both the singer and his wife had brain-related conditions, a fact known only to a few, including the bearded manager and the couple's shared doctor. Myung-se promptly interrogated the manager, who had an alibi. He was on a 3-hour phone call with his wife during the concert. He eagerly handed over his phone for Myung-se to verify. From a psychological perspective, the manager's lack of fear suggested he was likely telling the truth. Still, Haru and Myung-se decided to question the doctor, leaving no suspect unchecked. The doctor, who primarily worked with the singer, bonded easily with Haru, a fellow medical professional, and they chatted amicably. She mentioned that the singer was deeply troubled by his wife's alcoholism. Haru discreetly observed her, noting a tone that hinted at her dislike for the singer's wife. Myung-se showed the female doctor a video taken at the time of the murder. She had gone to talk to the singer's wife, and according to lip reading, she had said that she killed him. The doctor, looking sorrowful, said she only said that out of anger. Taking the chance, Haru asked her directly if she was in love with the singer, there. She smiled and said, "Of course I was. I was a fan of his." That night, upset, the doctor drove to the riverside, took out her phone, and looked at the photos she had taken with the singer. It turned out they had been secretly involved for some time. Although heartbroken, she firmly threw the phone into the river, trying to erase the evidence of the affair. However, she didn't realize the manager had recorded the entire act. The next morning, he brought the video to the police station, stating that instead of suspecting the wife, the police should focus on the doctor, as she had loved the singer deeply and was devastated when he wanted to end the relationship. Haru sat quietly, reflecting on the three suspects, each with a motive. However, it was the manager who drew Haru's attention the most. During the incident, he was wearing earphones, possibly using a second phone with software to control the singer's wristband. Haru quickly dragged Myung-se to the manager's company. The manager, thinking he was safe, was caught off guard when Haru peppered him with seemingly pointless questions. Then, Haru presented two mobile phones, asking him to choose one. The relentless questioning eroded the manager's patience, his calm facade crumbling into visible anger. Delighted, Haru exposed how the manager had faked his alibi by wearing earphones and pretending to talk to his wife for the cameras. In reality, he used a second phone to send the electric signal that killed the singer. Haru was certain the manager would try to destroy the evidence, so he and Myung-se pretended to leave the company. In reality, it was a trick. Believing they were gone, the manager ran to a tree to dispose of the phone used in the crime. Just as he looked up, he saw Haru and Myung-se standing there watching him. Haru thanked the manager for voluntarily handing over the evidence. Realizing he was about to be arrested, the manager tried to flee, but Myung-se blocked his path. The two immediately began to fight, and in the end, Haru and Myung-se managed to capture him. It turned out the singer's death was part of a scheme orchestrated by the manager. The police even uncovered his internet search history, revealing that he had planned a long-term money-making strategy even after the death of his artist, by exploiting the love and grief of fans for illegal profit. Truly a heartless man. With the case successfully solved, Haru cheerfully answered reporters, saying that his current role was as a temporary advisor to the police force. In the future, he hoped to do more good for the country and regain the public's trust. In a prison cell, elderly man with white hair watched news about Haru, chuckling that the boy he once knew had grown up. Meanwhile, a new case emerged. A woman was found dead in her boyfriend's closet, her face burned beyond recognition and fingerprints destroyed. The autopsy identified her through her ID as Tuong, a Vietnamese woman married to a Korean man. Their marriage was troubled, marked by frequent arguments, and the abusive husband had once threatened to kill her. He was immediately summoned for questioning. Unexpectedly, the husband claimed to suffer from prosopagnosia, or face blindness. To verify, Haru had his brain examined, confirming a neurological condition causing the disorder, lending credibility to his statement. Still, Haru refused to rule him out as a suspect. The police shifted their focus to other suspects. A woman named Hoi, who was Thuong's close friend, and a man named La, Hoi's boyfriend, discovered the body. Both were undocumented workers, making them hard to track. After a chase, Myung-se apprehended Lo, who revealed that Thuong frequently fought with her husband and had moved in temporarily with Hoi. He also mentioned a financial dispute between Hoi and Thuong. The teams split up to locate Hoi. Myung-se meticulously reviewed footage from cameras at the construction site where Hoi worked to check if she'd returned. Meanwhile, Officer Shio-ah, who was often scolded by her boss for avoiding field work and criticized for her timid, indecisive nature, was determined to prove herself. She went to Hoi's residence to investigate and uncovered a crucial piece of evidence. Shio-ah discovered a photo of Thuong and Hoi together. Realizing that the victim's ID and tattoo could have been fake, she immediately called Myung-se to share this critical finding, but tragically, Shio-ah suffered an accident and needed urgent care. A nail struck her head, causing severe injury. To extract her discovery, Haru used a specialized neurological technique, allowing Shio-ah's brain to respond to questions despite her inability to speak. Through Myung-se's questioning, Shio-ah revealed a shocking truth. The victim was Hoi, not Thuong. However, they couldn't secure evidence until Shio-ah regained consciousness. Haru deduced that someone had deliberately planted Hoi's belongings in Thuong's home to mislead the DNA analysis. Myung-se and Haru visited Thuong's house to confront her husband and found the cold storage unit suspicious. Moments after entering, they were locked inside. Desperate to escape, their efforts failed, and with time running out, they faced the risk of freezing to death. Even Haru, usually unflappable, felt fear creeping in. The prolonged cold triggered a severe headache, resurfacing traumatic childhood memories of being trapped. When Myung-se asked if he was okay, Haru lashed out in anger. Furious, Myung-se snapped and punched Haru, and the two got into a serious fight. It took Haru some time to calm down. Later, the two sat side by side and opened up to each other. Haru apologized for losing his temper. As the temperature inside the freezer dropped to dangerously low levels, they had no choice choice but to huddle together for warmth. Just when they thought they wouldn't make it, Thuong's husband rushed in and rescued them. He seriously told them that although he wasn't home the day before, he had installed security cameras in case anything happened. Checking the cameras, they saw Thuong's sister locking the storage unit door. Myung-se realized she was buying time by trapping them. Haru suggested going to the sister's house, where the husband said his wife hadn't returned for days, her phone was off, and she'd taken Thuong's young daughter with her. In reality, Thuong had impersonated her sister to enter the house, grabbed her passport, and fled to the airport. Her sister and daughter were already there, waiting tears. Thuong said she was returning to her hometown after all that had happened. She recalled discovering Hwai's body in the closet, but chose not to alert the police. At airport security, Thuong confidently showed her passport, confirming her documents were valid. If she were dead, her sister would have reported her missing. Yet Thuong was boarding a flight as if nothing was amiss, proving she wasn't the victim. Myung-se arrested her, elated, convinced he'd caught the murderer. However, Thuong tearfully pleaded, insisting that she did not kill Hwai. When she was brought back to the police station for questioning, she maintained that she wasn't the killer. She recounted the events of the night of the murder. When she returned home, she found Hwai dead in the closet. Terrified and out of her mind, she hadn't reported crime and had even burned her friend's body in fear. Thuong spoke about the abuse she suffered at the hands of her husband, describing the years of torment she endured. Her husband was a violent man who regularly beat her, and Thuong desperately wanted to escape from him. She told the police that she suspected Hwai's boyfriend was the real murderer, as they had been arguing a lot recently. After deliberation, Haru and the team opted for a neurological method akin to a lie detector test to identify the murderer between Lok and Thuong's abusive husband. When Thuong faced Lok, he reacted strongly, immediately insisting he did not kill Hwai. Haru analyzed his brainwaves and confirmed that Lok was telling the truth. On the other hand, Thuong's husband, who couldn't recognize his wife's face, was able to identify Thuong by the earrings she was wearing. The husband couldn't conceal his surprise when he saw Thuong, and Haru noticed, detecting his hidden fear. Knowing he couldn't escape, the husband confessed to killing Hwai, having mistaken her for Thuong because Hwai wore identical earrings. Ultimately, both Thuong and her husband were jailed, he for murder, she for desecrating a corpse. After the case was closed, Xiao-ah regained consciousness. The severe head injury had changed her. She returned to work wearing striking red clothing, astonishing everyone with her bold new appearance. What surprised them even more was that Xiao-ah stood up to her supervisor. He slapped her hard, but moments later, the once bullying supervisor tasted his own pain. Xiao-ah knocked him down in front of Myung-se, who watched in disbelief. Haru sat in a corner, analyzing that the accident had affected Xiao-ah's brain, which explained her positive change in character. In the prison, the elderly man with white hair met with the director, who had once been Haru's superior at the research institute. The director Park nervously asked why Hwang-sik wanted to meet Haru, a dangerous prisoner with a doctorate. Hwang-sik revealed he'd followed Haru's news and admired his ingenious and creative approach to obtaining the killer's brain. He probed the director, asking if Haru knew the truth behind his parents' deaths. Upon hearing this, the director quickly left, warning Hwang-sik not to contact Haru. Despite the warning, Haru visited Hwang-sik in prison the next day. Hwang-sik gazed at Haru with fascination, wondering if Haru remembered him. Unaware of Hwang-sik's true nature, Haru didn't realize the kindly-faced man was a neuroscientist who had killed 7 patients with morphine overdoses for his own perverse pleasure. As Haru looked at the silver-haired man before him, he couldn't help but notice that, in some ways, Hwang-sik's thoughts resembled his own. However, Haru would never harm innocent patients. He told Hwang-sik he was seeking the brain of a psychopath for his research, and Hwang-sik was an ideal candidate. Unfazed, Hwang-sik bluntly expressed his desire for Haru to become his friend, asking only for 4 hours of conversation each month. Haru didn't believe in friendship with a mentally disturbed person, but he saw it as an investment to gain access to Hwang-sik's brain. So, Haru agreed happily. Before being returned to his cell, Hwang-sik told the guard that he would transfer his negative, painful emotions to Haru, and that when the time came, he would be the happiest man in the world. Meanwhile, the Neuroscience Investigation Bureau was dealing with a new case involving a 7-year-old girl who had killed her biological father. The girl, named Mindu, suffered from aphasia. According to reports, Mindu's father had fallen from the rooftop, and her mother, who rushed up to the rooftop, found Mindu holding a knife. During the police interrogation, Mindu couldn't speak, only able to write descriptions and nod her head in response. Myung-se asked who was with Min-do on the rooftop. Min-do wrote that it was a demon. Myung-se asked the girl if she could describe what the demon looked like, but Min-do, terrified, clutched her head and fainted. Her mother rushed in crying. Min-do was taken to the hospital, but her mother refused treatment, insisting that Min-do was possessed by a demon and that the act of killing her father was controlled by the evil spirit within her. The team gathered to analyze Min-do's case. According to test results, Min-do's mental state was completely normal, which is why her mother believed she was possessed. Myung-se met with an acquaintance of Min-do's mother, who revealed that the mother was obsessed with a cult, causing frequent arguments between Min-do's parents. Haru and Myung-se visited the cult's headquarters to investigate further. But meeting the leader was not easy. Despite Myung-se's attempts to persuade them, the members refused entry. Haru then showcased his acting skills, stepping forward and effortlessly manipulating the followers by speaking as if he were one of them. This allowed the two to meet the leader and question her about Min-do's case. The leader of the superstitious cult preached about supernatural powers, claiming there are many things in this world that humans cannot explain. On the day of the murder, the leader stated she was praying to the savior, with all the followers able to vouch for her. Myung-se was irritated by the leader's superstitious talk, urged Haru to leave the place quickly. After they left, the leader met with Min-do's mother, telling her to perform an exorcism on her daughter soon. Back at the workplace, everyone agreed that the cult had driven Min-do to kill her father, but Haru thought differently. He explained that patients with language loss are highly skilled at detecting lies and are difficult to psychologically manipulate. Haru suggested examining Min-do's brain and used a highly sophisticated imaging machine to develop visuals of her thoughts. Outside, Haru asked about the person Min-do saw on the rooftop. An image gradually formed from the machine, but it was Min-do herself, leaving Haru deeply disappointed. Myung-se still refused to believe Min-do was the one who killed her father. He drove back to the rooftop and noticed something strange, a mirror clearly reflecting the door to the rooftop. Myung-se hypothesized that Min-do had seen the cult leader in the mirror. Realizing this crucial detail, Myung-se returned to the office and reviewed the brain-generated images from Min-do's mind. There was indeed a faint figure in the background. Sheo-ah provided additional information. During a private interrogation, Min-do confessed that the cult leader was the person she saw on the rooftop. Sheo-ah showed this video to Min-do's mother, but she remained blindly loyal to the cult leader, seemingly completely brainwashed. She showed no concern for her daughter being blamed for the crime. The police team decided to infiltrate the cult as followers to understand its operations. To achieve this, Myung-se and Sheo-ah went undercover and joined the cult. Posing as a married couple, Myung-se pretended to be paralyzed and used a wheelchair. The two successfully gained the trust of the cult leader, bolstered by Sheo-ah's promise to donate 1 billion won. This allowed them to participate in Min-do's exorcism ceremony. During the ritual, Sheo-ah and Myung-se grew anxious, especially when they saw the leader forcing followers to swallow a pill as part of the activity. Sheo-ah managed to take the pill easily, but Myung-se struggled, spitting it out. Seeing this, the leader postponed Min-do's exorcism and decided to perform the ritual on Myung-se instead. Left with no choice, Myung-se lay still as the leader whipped him repeatedly. Despite the intense pain, he endured it in silence, determined to make their mission successful. Myung-se endured the whipping. Min-do's mother, witnessing the brutal act, was terrified, but still allowed her daughter to undergo the exorcism. As the cult leader prepared to whip Min-do, a hooded figure entered the hall. It was Haru in disguise, proclaiming himself the savior, come to rescue everyone. Haru's mysterious appearance convinced the followers he was the true savior, but the cult leader wasn't easily fooled and attempted to expose him. At that moment, Sheo-ah shouted that her husband could walk again, sparking joyous cheers from the crowd. This distraction allowed Haru to escape with Min-do and her mother. Myung-se and Sheo-ah arrested the cult leader for assault, but lacking evidence for her other crimes, she was quickly released due to a skilled lawyer's defense. Haru took Min-do and her mother to an isolated house, aiming to help the mother regain mental clarity. Myung-se took the initiative to talk with Min-do's mother, sharing the struggles of parenthood, especially the burdens faced by single mothers who constantly worry about their children. He aimed to convince her that cult wasn't the only source of empathy and safety. Thanks to Haru's psychological groundwork, Min-do's mother finally confessed the truth about her husband's murder. On the day of the incident, she had rushed to her husband's side as he lay dying. With his last strength, he urged her to abandon the cult. The cult leader had attacked Min-do's father with a knife, causing him to fall from the rooftop. After days of studying Min-do's condition, Haru discovered she had a malignant tumor. An ultrasound of her stomach confirmed his suspicions. Haru and the doctors performed surgery, helping Min-do recover. Her mother finally understood that her daughter was ill, not possessed. At the hospital, cult leader leader tried once more to manipulate Mindu's mother, but she was now enlightened. She revealed that the leader had persuaded her to pin the murder on Mindu, when in fact the leader herself was the true culprit. The police struggled to prove cult leader was the murderer, as there were no cameras or recorded conversations from the time of the crime. Mindu's mother aided the police by revealing a major secret, leading them to discover the skeleton of a young girl who died during an exorcism hidden near the cult's building. The news spread rapidly through media reports. Despite the leader's arrest, many blind followers continued to worship her. Haru's team looked on, shaking their heads. Solving this cult case earned the neuroscience investigation team high praise from their superiors, with Myung-se set to be honored at the Outstanding Police Officer Awards. At the ceremony, everyone celebrated Myung-se's achievement. However, during his speech, a controversial video played on the screen, showing Myung-se with a teenage girl in a seemingly secretive manner. The video was leaked by Haru, who intended to humiliate Myung-se publicly. Unexpectedly, the girl from the video appeared at the ceremony and publicly thanked Myung-se. The beautiful young woman recounted how Myung-se had saved her from men trying to lure her into a hotel, and even knelt to apologize on behalf of those men. The room erupted in cheers, with endless applause for Myung-se. Only Haru was upset because he couldn't bring down Myung-se's reputation. That evening, Haru skipped dinner with police team and went straight home. Myung-se called Haru, demanding they meet to address the video. Haru openly admitted he wanted to disgrace Myung-se. Furious over the near damage to his honor, Myung-se punched Haru, and the two fought like schoolboys. Despite the intense brawl, Myung-se paused to help an elderly woman, sparking Haru's curiosity about Myung-se's brain structure and unwavering kindness. The next day, a hesitant man entered the police station. Myung-se asked why he was there. The man, Bum-soo, reported his wife missing, explaining she was devastated by his affair with Cherry. Everyone assumed the affair was with another woman, but the shocking truth was that Cherry was a robot, a product of artificial intelligence. Bum-soo claimed that Cherry loved him, and he loved her back. Faced with this seemingly unrealistic confession, Myung-se called Haru for advice. Haru suggested that Myung-se investigate Bum-soo's house. Disappointed that Haru wouldn't join him, Myung-se went alone. Strangely, though Bum-soo was home, he didn't answer the door. Myung-se spoke to a neighbor, who revealed that Bum-soo's wife had accused him of domestic abuse. At that moment, Bum-soo opened the door and let Myung-se inside. When asked about Cherry, Bum-soo claimed she wasn't home. Suspicious, Myung-se searched the house, and upon opening a spare bedroom, found Bum-soo's wife lying in a corner. Bum-soo in a frenzy asserts that she is not his wife but Cherry. The wife, weakly regaining consciousness, said her husband intended to harm her. Without needing further explanation, Myung-se arrested Bum-soo for domestic violence. After a few interrogation questions, Haru suspected Bum-soo had a neurological issue and tested him with a lie detector. It revealed Bum-soo had Capgras syndrome, a rare disorder causing him to misidentify close family members, mistaking them for others. Bum-soo's wife confirmed he had confused her with Cherry and even attacked her, believing she would report his affair. Upon learning of his condition, the wife chose not to press charges, opting for his treatment instead. Curious about why Bum-soo mistook her for someone else and how he truly felt, she sought answers. Haru guided her to uncover her husband's true feelings. Posing as Cherry, she asked Bum-soo if he loved his wife. He gently replied that while he liked Cherry's kindness, he loved his wife the most. Hearing his heartfelt confession, the wife apologized for not being more attentive, wondering if she had contributed to his illness. Fortunately, after surgery, Bum-soo recognized his wife again. This unusual illness ultimately brought the couple closer together. Just when things seemed resolved, Haru arrived at the police station the next day and announced he was leaving the team. Myung-se was confused and tried to persuade him to stay. As they stepped outside, they encountered Bum-soo, blood on his clothes, claiming he had killed someone. With a sudden murder case, Haru stayed to investigate. They went to the crime scene, where Bum-soo confessed to killing his neighbor, with his wife as a witness. Bum-soo said the neighbor had mocked him about the Cherry robot, prompting him to attack the man with a trophy in anger. However, forensic analysis revealed the wife's fingerprints on the trophy as well. The team reconstructed the crime scene based on the descriptions and reasoned that killers should have significant blood splatter on their clothes due to the force of the blow to the head. Yet, Bum-soo had minimal blood on him, leading the team to suspect the wife as the true culprit. To uncover the truth, Bum-soo and his wife were asked to take a lie detector test. The wife refused, claiming her mental state had been unstable recently. However, Bum-soo was more than willing to take the test. The lie detector indicated Bum-soo was telling the truth, though Sheo-ah cautioned that this wasn't conclusive, as someone firmly convinced of their own narrative could deceive the machine. The next day, the team reconvened with new developments. Sheo-ah had examined the neighbor's phone and discovered an illicit relationship between him and Bum-soo's wife. The wife was immediately summoned for questioning. Haru pretended pretended to be friendly, telling her not to worry, saying Bum-soo only faced a 30-year prison sentence. The wife's hands trembled, startled, and clearly anxious. No one understood the brain better than Haru, and he had come up with a way to uncover the truth by tricking her mind. He instructed her to avoid thinking about the murder, knowing this would make her dwell on it more. Especially at night, her anxiety manifested in increasing physical spasms. Haru and Myung-se also tailed her to observe her movements. They saw the wife leaving with a bag in hand, which she threw into a dumpster. Myung-se searched extensively and finally found the bag, discovering a trophy similar to the one used to kill the neighbor. Upon inspection, they found only the wife's fingerprints on it. Myung-se then recalled the wife mentioning she sent a shirt for dry cleaning, the same shirt she wore on the day of the murder. In reality, she had discarded it. The wife was summoned for questioning again. Haru and Myung-se presented all the evidence they had gathered against her, but she stubbornly refused to confess. Haru persisted, asking pointed questions that directly targeted her psyche, causing her to tremble uncontrollably. Overwhelmed by fear and guilt, she collapsed to the floor, unable to endure the torment any longer. The wife finally admitted she was the murderer. A few months ago, thinking her husband was having an affair, the wife briefly dated the neighbor. However, she ended the relationship quickly. The problem was, the neighbor kept insisting on continuing the affair. When she rejected him, he began verbally attacking and insulting Bum-soo. Bum-soo stood near the stairs and heard the conversation. Furious, he punched the neighbor. Even after being hit, the neighbor continued to hurl cruel words at Bum-soo. Unable to stand seeing her husband insulted, the wife grabbed a nearby trophy and struck the neighbor on the head. Out of love, Bum-soo took the blame for her crime. In the end, the couple faced a tragic outcome, one plagued by illness, the other imprisoned. With Bum-soo's case resolved, Haru confirmed his decision to leave the homicide unit. Myung-se chased after him, pleading for him to stay. Haru replied that he would only remain if Myung-se resigned. Myung-se and Haru continued to bicker. Haru's aunt suggested he try falling in love, but Haru wondered if that could ever happen to him. Then one day, a girl with a sweet smile appeared and smiled at him. Meanwhile, Shio-ah confessed her feelings to Myung-se on a mountain. Before he could respond, Myung-se slipped and fell, luckily landing on a nearby rock without injury. Shio-ah pulled him up, admitting she wasn't sure how long she could maintain her bold confidence, which is why she seized the moment to express her feelings. At the same time, Haru ran into his childhood friend, Jun-hee, who had secretly liked him for years. Unromantic as ever, Haru greeted her briefly and left, leaving Jun-hee feeling disappointed. The investigation team took on a new case involving a son who killed his mother. The mother had two sons, but the elder was a gaming addict, spending 5 years holed up in his room. Every day, the mother brought food to his room. In moments of frustration, she even laced his food with detergent, but fortunately, the elder son never ate it and avoided poisoning. The mother banged on the door, but neither son paid attention, both ignoring her. In a fit of rage, she flipped the circuit breaker to cut the power, preventing the elder son from gaming. The next day, she was found dead on a mountain. The police quickly targeted the elder son. Chun-dan, his younger brother, was shocked, insisting Chun-dan never left his room. So how could he have gone out to kill? At the scene, Chun-dan's shirt was still stained with blood and had not been changed. During interrogation at the station, Chun-dan admitted to killing his mother, but claimed he had no memory of it. Strangely, he insisted he was only 17 years old. Meanwhile, Haru received a call from Hwang-si, who was surprised to hear Haru had left the homicide unit, noting the exciting cases awaiting him. Myung-se struggled with the investigation without Haru and waited outside to convince him to rejoin the team. To secure Haru's cooperation, Myung-se signed a brain donation pledge for a research center. Haru earned praise from the institute's director, as his efforts secured 3 brain donations for the facility. Haru kept his promise and rejoined the homicide unit. Examining Chun-dan, he quickly diagnosed him with transient global amnesia lasting 30 minutes, where Chun-dan's brain stopped forming new memories and remained stuck at age 17. This led Haru to suspect the younger brother, as there was a 1-hour gap between the murder and the report. Shio-ah added that Chun-dan could recall significant events beyond 30 minutes. During questioning, the younger brother candidly described their complex family dynamics. He and Chun-dan were half-brothers, and his mother despised Chun-dan's gaming addiction, even abusing him at times. Despite Chun-dan's murder charge, Haru remained unconvinced of his guilt. The team found a witness who saw the killer returning home, a girl who happened to be a fan of Haru and was eager to help. She even agreed to be hypnotized to recount what she saw, but could only recall a distinct scent emanating from the perpetrator. Haru devised a method to jog the witness's memory. Under hypnosis again, Shio-ah had the woman smell a cup of water, and she recognized the scent as pool water. The witness witness recalled that the young man she saw had blood on his hands and a large scar. Haru's method proved highly effective, as the water he brought was from the pool the younger brother frequented, and he also had a scar on his hand. Upon hearing the witness's confirmation, Myung-se and Haru immediately suspected the younger brother as the killer. Myung-se called him to the station, but he refused, claiming he had to practice swimming all night. Myung-se waited at the brother's house, confronting him as he returned. Realizing he was about to be arrested, the younger brother fled. During his escape, he bumped into a young mother, nearly causing her baby's stroller to be hit by a car. Fortunately, Myung-se swiftly pulled the stroller to safety. A few days later, the police received a report that the younger brother was threatening to jump off a building to end his life. Myung-se rushed to the rooftop, trying to talk him down and prevent a reckless act. Haru knew that words would not move the younger brother, so he boldly stepped onto the rock and asked him if he really wanted to die. The younger brother nodded firmly. Haru then charged toward him, and they both leapt off. Haru was confident in the jump, as there was an inflatable cushion below to ensure no one got hurt. His daring move shocked everyone, but successfully led to the suspect's capture. At the station, Chundan saw his younger brother in handcuffs and began screaming, insisting his brother wasn't the killer. Finally, the younger brother confessed. It all began with their mother's prolonged abuse of Chundan. The younger brother had seen her lace Chundan's food with detergent to harm him. Too afraid to confront her, he protected Chundan by warning him not to eat her cooking, instead bringing him food every day. For 5 years, the younger brother secretly brought food to Chundan to keep him alive. However, their mother eventually discovered this. She berated him, claiming everything she did was for the younger brother's benefit, but he was only terrified by her actions against Chundan. The younger brother arranged to meet his mother on the mountain, pulling out a knife and threatening to end his life to make her stop. In the struggle, the mother grabbed the knife, accidentally slashing her own throat and dying. Chundan saw his younger brother return home with blood on his shirt and immediately swapped clothes with him. Chundan then turned himself into the supposed killer, calling the police to report the crime. Despite his memory resetting every 30 minutes, Chundan always remembered the happy times with his younger brother at pool. Knowing his brother had always been good to him, Chundan's instinct as an older brother was to protect him, so he unhesitatingly took the blame. After closing the case, Haru helped Myung-se overcome the painful memory of his ex-wife's infidelity. Haru took Myung-se to the hotel where he had caught his wife cheating with another man. Gently, Haru told Myung-se to view it as an experience, urging him to confront his inner fears and even feel grateful for discovering his ex-wife's true nature, which allowed him to divorce her sooner. Thanks to Haru, Myung-se finally moved past his lingering sorrow. That evening, Myung-se met Seo-ah for dinner and confessed his feelings, fully opening his heart to her. Meanwhile, at Haru's house, a strange man broke in. Myung-se and Seo-ah's date was interrupted by a call from his wife, reporting a murder. At Haru's home, a masked figure wielding a knife attacked him. Haru grabbed a nearby plant pot and threw it at the assailant, startling him. Seizing the moment when Haru was distracted, the masked man fled on a motorcycle. The masked man's next target was a residential building. He used a smoke bomb to trigger the fire alarm, causing chaos. As a young woman opened her door to escape, he stormed in. Her body was later discovered by Myung-se's ex-wife. The case was swiftly handed to the investigation team. Examining the victim's room, the police found a message scrawled on the mirror: "I only do what the brain tells me." Tracking the masked man proved challenging, as no one had seen him. However, Seo-ah located the victim's phone, which was emitting a signal from Jeonwon prison, where Hwang-sik was incarcerated. The person holding the victim's phone was In-ho, a prison guard close to Hwang-sik. In-ho was the victim's ex-boyfriend, and he had killed her out of jealousy over her new relationship. Hwang-sik had exploited In-ho's obsessive jealousy to manipulate him into committing the crime. In-ho turned himself in, likely to lure Haru into finding him. As Myung-se and Haru were en route to the prison, Myung-se checked the tracker and realized In-ho was heading to the police station. In-ho entered the station, where only the chief was present, making it an ideal moment for him to act. Fortunately, Seo-ah arrived in time to intervene. With her exceptional skills, she subdued In-ho with a single move. During Haru's interrogation, he immediately asked In-ho if Hwang-sik had instigated his crimes. In-ho calmly replied that he acted solely on his brain's commands. He admitted to killing his ex-girlfriend out of jealousy. As for Haru, In-ho explained that someone who had everything like Haru needed to experience a little pain. The next day, Haru visited Hwang-sik in prison and asked if he knew anything about his parents' accident. Yesterday, when In-ho attacked him, he called Haru baby, which triggered a childhood memory. Haru suspected that it was Hwang-sik who had told In-ho to say that. Just to get under his skin, seeking answers, Haru went to see the hospital director. The director begged Haru not to to meet with Wong-sik again, calling the man a devil. The director insisted that Haru's parents' accident years ago was just a typical traffic incident, though in truth they were murdered. He claimed Wong-sik was only trying to manipulate Haru and revealed that Haru's father and Wong-sik had a long-standing feud. The director urged Haru not to trust Wong-sik's words. Outwardly, Haru promised not to investigate his parents' case, but inwardly he remained determined to uncover the truth. The next day, Haru met Junhee again, who was now the prosecutor handling In-ho's case. Despite his impoverished background, In-ho had hired a prominent law firm, raising suspicions. The lawyers sought a reduced sentence, claiming In-ho suffered from a personality disorder. Shockingly, Wong-sik was called as a neurological expert to testify that In-ho was genuinely ill. At the trial, Wong-sik appeared frail and sickly, though he was perfectly healthy. He feigned a trembling, pitiful demeanor, claiming to be living proof of a personality disorder, unable to control himself when committing murder due to his condition. To counter Wong-sik's claims, Junhee argued that no medication exists to manage personality disorders. That's why such individuals should be removed from society to reduce danger to others. Wong-sik conceded there was no treatment, but noted that some scientists were researching it, slyly dragging Haru into the case. Wong-sik revealed that Haru was currently researching the brains of criminals. The judge allowed Haru to testify as an expert. Myung-se and Junhee were worried about Haru, so they advised him to be careful. In court, Haru publicly acknowledged that mental illness could be treatable with proper research, but he opposed reducing In-ho's sentence, displaying brain scans of 2 individuals with personality disorders. Haru explained that not everyone with the condition becomes malicious, noting that many with mental illnesses have made significant societal contributions. In-ho's lawyer challenged Haru's argument, demanding more evidence to validate his claims. Then Haru revealed a shocking truth. One of the brain scans showing signs of the disorder actually belonged to him. He had the brain of a psychopath, yet he had never intended to harm anyone. The courtroom was stunned by Haru's candid revelation. The lawyer tried to defend In-ho, arguing that the environment of those with mental disorders could influence their brain. He claimed In-ho's impoverished upbringing led to distorted thinking, unlike Haru, who supposedly came from a wealthy family. Haru countered that he lost his parents at age 6, an experience so traumatic it erased parts of his memory, yet he grew up normally. The lawyer further argued that In-ho's job as a prison guard, surrounded by dangerous criminals, fostered his violent tendencies. Haru refuted this, telling the judge that he, too, dealt closely with criminals, many of whom wanted him dead, yet he never plotted to kill them. Unlike In-ho, who was manipulated by Wong-sik, Haru possessed rational thinking that set him apart from other disordered individuals. Though Haru's testimony could harm In-ho's case, Wong-sik was delighted, as this was precisely what he had orchestrated. Haru's colleagues quickly accepted his revelation of having a personality disorder, but reporters outside turned it into a controversy. They questioned whether Haru could turn into a murderer himself. Haru confidently assured them that would never happen. Meanwhile, Myung-se and Seo-ah were happily dating. Myung-se's mood had improved significantly since he started seeing his new girlfriend. At work, they exchanged loving glances. However, their sweet relationship faced an abrupt end. Myung-se's ex-wife, long labeled unfaithful, revealed that her past infidelities stemmed from stimulants in her weight loss medication, which caused her to crave male attention. With the misunderstanding cleared, she sought to reconcile with Myung-se, wanting her police officer husband back. She approached Seo-ah, begging her to step away from Myung-se. Caught in a dilemma, Seo-ah questioned her own feelings, wondering if her confidence and affection for Myung-se were influenced by a brain injury. After much reflection, she decided to let Myung-se return to his family. At the camping date, Seo-ah told Myung-se that she could find someone better than him. This sudden breakup left Myung-se feeling extremely sad. He called Haru, asking him out for drinks. Haru constantly complained about Myung-se, but deep down, he still cared about him. Haru drank with Myung-se and listened to all of his troubles. Despite their differences, the two still cared for each other in their own way. Aside from the issue with his ex-wife's infidelity, Myung-se felt that his life was relatively peaceful. However, things took a dark turn when his daughter caused trouble. His daughter, Gina, was in her room with blood on her hands, and next to her was the body of her schoolmate. Terrified, Gina locked the door. Myung-se knocked and knocked but got no response, so he had to break the door down. He was shocked to find the body of a boy lying in his daughter's room. Fortunately, the boy was still alive and was rushed to the hospital in time. Myung-se's daughter was immediately taken in for questioning. Gina recounted that the trouble began with a group of cruel, bullying kids who barged into her house and started drinking her family's liquor without permission. They pressured her to drink, but she couldn't recall what happened next, only waking up to find her best friend unconscious in a pool of blood. The police questioned the delinquent kids, who all gave identical statements. Their leader was Hunju, claiming Gina and her best friend had a conflict, prompting the group to leave shortly after. When asked to check her phone, Gina handed it over without hesitation. The police found a message she sent to a classmate, admitting she had harmed her best friend. This revelation threw the family into chaos, especially Myung-se, who was torn as his daughter became the prime suspect. Desperate, he called Haru for help. Haru advised Myung-se to re-examine Gina's phone records carefully. Myung-se felt as if he had been awakened. He spent the entire night going through the case files and discovered something odd: the time discrepancy between the text messages Gina sent to her friends and her call to emergency services. There was a gap of several minutes, over 10 minutes, while Gina's testimony was that she immediately called for help as soon as she woke up. This suggested that she had likely passed out or was drunk when she sent the messages. It was likely the delinquent kids used her phone to send it. Ming-se wanted to report this to his superiors, but as Gina's father, his evidence lacked credibility. Xiaohua stepped in, submitting the critical information to the prosecutor's office on his behalf. Gina was given one final chance to prove her innocence, but she suddenly confessed to the crime. And the reason behind her confession was that the delinquent kids had threatened to leak compromising photos of her drunk. Despite the threats, Gina kept this from her parents, leaving Myung-se frustrated and at a loss for how to resolve his daughter's case. Beyond his police work, Haru was immersed in his personal research project and was thrilled when In-ho agreed to donate his brain. However, before Haru could secure In-ho's signed consent, the prison informed him that In-ho had taken his own life. Convinced Hwang-sik was behind it, Haru angrily called him, but Hwang-sik denied any involvement, taunting Haru to savor the frustration of not getting what he wanted. Disappointed over losing In-ho's brain, Haru shifted focus to resolving Gina's case. He was already irritated watching the delinquent kids during interrogation. Disrespectful, mocking, and stubbornly dishonest. The case grew increasingly unfavorable for Gina, with mounting evidence against her, and the police were considering handing it over to the prosecutor's office. Unable to tolerate Myung-se's complaints, Haru took the initiative, meeting Gina to ask her directly what had happened. Haru said he was not her parents, so Gina could talk to him freely. Finally, Gina recounted how the group of misbehaving kids had threatened her with photos, saying that if Gina didn't confess, her drunken pictures would be leaked online. Haru decided to take drastic measures to make the leader confess everything. He took Gina's phone and sent a message to Hunju, asking him to meet him at a warehouse. When Hunju arrived, he was immediately tied to a chair. He panicked when he saw Haru holding a hammer. Haru didn't harm Hunju physically, but his methods caused pain in his mind. Haru repeatedly threatened to chop off his hand with a fake hammer. No matter how much Hunju lied, he was still just a child and couldn't resist Haru. With just a few threats, Hunju obediently revealed the truth, that on the night in question, he had attacked Gina's friend, causing him to hit his head against the wall. Hunju's motive was to get back at Gina because he liked her, but she had rejected him. Haru quickly deleted the drunken photos of Gina from Hunju's phone. Then he reminded Hunju to live a decent life from now on and treat his daughter properly. Thanks to Haru, Hunju confessed all his crimes at the police station, and Myung-se's daughter was finally cleared of suspicion. Before being taken away, Hunju received a strong punch from Gina, a punch that released all the pain and frustration she had bottled up during those difficult days. Meanwhile, tensions arose between Haru and Myung-se. Haru discovered that during Gina's case, Myung-se had secretly obtained phone records of Hunju and another girl through a telecommunications company, an illegal act for a police officer. Haru used this to taunt Myung-se, who, facing potential punishment, pleaded with Haru not to report him, even offering to resign if necessary. Haru was quite pleased with this outcome. He wanted to see how frustrated Myung-se would be if he could no longer do the job he loved. But Haru was caught off guard when Myung-se actually went through with resigning. Strangely, even after witnessing Myung-se leave his job, Haru didn't feel any joy, especially when Myung-se handed over a folder of brain donation forms he had collected for Haru. Feeling guilty, Haru visited his aunt to understand his emotions. After examining his brain, she explained that Haru's brain had registered Myung-se as a friend, which is why he felt no joy in his friend's suffering. Concerned for Myung-se, Haru went to his house to check on him. However, when Myung-se asked what Haru was doing there, Haru arrogantly drove away without answering. Back home, Haru received a package containing a news article about the brutal murder of a doctor couple, his parents. This This was a gift from Hwang Sik, who, unable to contact Haru for days, devised a plan to force Haru into a game. The article triggered Haru's memories of his parents' tragic murder. Hwang Sik's plan succeeded, as Haru visited him the next morning, desperate to learn the reason behind his parents' deaths and the identity of their killer. Seizing the opportunity, Hwang Sik proposed a deal. Hwang Sik demanded that Haru draft a petition, not only to secure his release from prison, but also to prevent his execution. Desperate for the truth about his parents' murder, Haru reluctantly agreed. He had no desire to help Hwang Sik escape justice, but felt he had no other choice. Even when he asked his aunt about his parents' accident, she couldn't provide clear answers. To uncover the truth, Haru had no option but to assist Hwang Sik in avoiding execution. With Haru's help, Hwang Sik was transferred to a hospital. Keeping his promise, Hwang Sik handed Haru a small note containing critical information. Meanwhile, Haru secretly placed a tracking device in Hwang Sik's jacket pocket. Haru's aunt, alarmed by his agitation, sought help from the neuroscience investigation team, specifically requesting Myung-se's assistance. Haru went to the location provided in the note and discovered a recording of a conversation between the institute director and Hwang Sik. Additionally, he found the murder weapon, a knife used to kill Haru's parents. Shortly after, the director appeared and hurriedly explained that everything was orchestrated by Hwang Sik, insisting he did not harm Haru's parents. The only wrong he admitted to was stealing Haru's father's thesis. Haru grew more suspicious, believing the director was the killer. The director even attacked Haru to conceal his past plagiarism. At the hospital, Hwang Sik was thrilled at the prospect of Haru becoming a murderer, while Haru holds a knife ready to kill the director. The director kept explaining that Hwang Sik had blackmailed him, which was why he went to the meeting spot to destroy evidence. Consumed by hatred, Haru was on the verge of acting, but fortunately, Myung-se arrived in time to stop him. Myung-se warned Haru not to fall into Hwang Sik's trap, as Hwang Sik wanted Haru to become a killer. Recalling Hwang Sik's words, Haru's rationality returned, and he spared the director. Instead, he and Myung-se went to the police station, where Haru requested hypnosis to recall what happened the night his parents were murdered. Sheo-ah helped Haru with hypnosis, allowing Haru to relive the tragic night. At first, he couldn't clearly identify the killer, but in a deep hypnotic state, Haru finally saw the culprit's face. It was Hwang Sik. In the past, Hwang Sik had killed a patient and begged Haru's father to keep it secret, but his father refused. As a result, Haru's parents were murdered, leaving only her young son Haru. The next day, Haru and Myung-se headed to the hospital. On the way, they noticed Hwang Sik's tracking device was moving. The guards reported that Hwang Sik had climbed out of the hospital window and escaped. Immediately, the police mobilized to hunt him down. The car they were chasing stopped at a car wash, with the tracking device still inside. Myung-se rushed to demand the occupant open the car door, but the person who stepped out wasn't Hwang Sik. Checking security footage, the police saw Hwang Sik meeting someone outside the hospital, a young man Haru had encountered. When visiting his childhood home, Haru immediately guessed where Hwang Sik was headed. He initially wanted to go alone, but Myung-se insisted on joining to help. Haru and Myung-se visited Haru's childhood home, which remained unchanged. As soon as they entered, they inhaled toxic gas and passed out. When they awoke, they found Hwang Sik had tied them up and attached devices to their heads. With a sinister smile, Hwang Sik proposed a fun game. He had set up a game called Empathy Search. If Haru and Myung-se's brainwaves matched over 80%, they would win and be freed. If their brainwave patterns didn't align, they would become killers. In another room, the victims, Myung-se's wife and child and Haru's aunt, were tied up. Hwang Sik opened a valve, flooding the room with water, endangering their loved ones. Hwang Sik declared that if they didn't win the game, their loved ones would drown. Despite Haru and Myung-se's efforts, their brainwaves only reached 15% to 20% similarity. Frustrated, Myung-se snapped, asking Haru how he was feeling and whether he had any empathy or compassion. Haru realized the images Hwang Sik showed them were meant to evoke fear, but his brain didn't react to horrifying stimuli. Haru could only rely on Myung-se's emotions, tricking his own brain to mimic the same fearful empathy. Meanwhile, outside, Sheo-ah and the director tracked their phones and located Haru's childhood home. Back in the torture room, Haru and Myung-se still couldn't sync their brainwaves, and the water had risen dangerously. With the victims on the verge of drowning, Hwang Sik reveled in their failure to find common empathy. At that moment, the doorbell rang. It was Sheo-ah and the director outside. Sheo-ah was quickly captured by Hwang Sik and tied up with Haru and Myung-se. To prevent Haru from feeling empathy, Hwang Sik repeatedly mimicked a baby's cry, triggering Haru's painful memories of his parents' death. Even worse, Hwang Sik forced them to watch a video of their loved ones on the brink of drowning. Myung-se screamed at him, calling him a pervert, desperately trying to think of a way to save his family. In a critical moment, Myung-se told Hwang Sik to kill him, wanting to see how Haru would react to his death. Hwang-sik was thrilled by the idea and began strangling Myung-se. The sight instantly triggered Haru's brain. He recalled their times working together, realizing they were true partners who would fight to the death for each other. Haru's brain activity surged to 86%, and the handcuffs on both him and Myung-se automatically unlocked. Terrified by this miracle, Hwang-sik fled immediately. Haru quickly freed his teammates, and the group rushed to save their loved ones. The three women were in critical condition, on the verge of hypothermia from being submerged in water for too long. Haru received a call from Hwang-sik, who wanted one final game, this time betting their lives. Haru told Myung-se to stay and care for the victims while he went to confront Hwang-sik. In a room equipped with brain-scanning machines, Haru and Hwang-sik tested their brainwave frequencies. Hwang-sik believed their frequencies would match, assuming both shared the same psychopathic disorder, but Haru was different. He had empathy for others. When the results showed no match, Haru stood up, declaring his victory. He then pulled out a syringe filled with poison. The syringe was prepared by Hwang-sik for the loser. He had hoped Haru would kill him, but Haru refused to grant his wish. Haru declared he was not a murderer like Hwang-sik and gave him two choices: go to prison or end his own life. With that, Haru left confidently, leaving Hwang-sik alone. Unable to accept his defeat, Hwang-sik injected himself with the poison, ending his life. The police quickly arrived to handle the scene. Myung-se sighed in relief, seeing Haru safe, and thanked him for saving his family. Before they could share more heartfelt words, Haru reverted to his usual arrogant demeanor. Having solved a major case, the crime-fighting team was once again rewarded. Myung-se was the happiest, earning 2 awards in a year. His romance with Shio-ah reignited, and when he confessed his feelings, she agreed to be his girlfriend. The story ends here. Thank you for following along, and see you next time.